Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad and this is SuperCoach Pro. Today's video we are doing the round 5 AFL SuperCoach review of my team. So this week scored 2,248, which to my surprise actually moved me back into the top 5k there, sitting at 4,675. Team value is actually pretty high at that 12 million point now, which is nice. And I actually did make a last minute trade that sort of went a little bit backwards in the case of it was meant to be Wick Ryan to Doherty, and then it was meant to be Cripps to Keaney via DPP. The issue with that was all locked in and ready to go. Anyway, I actually checked the team names and I saw O'Driscoll was named, and I thought I just got to jump on this cash train. So I end up doing something a little bit different. So I do apologise in the comments. I know one guy in particular copied my move, and I think in the long run the Doherty move will pay off. It's just I didn't realise that O'Driscoll would actually get named. They've got so much depth at Freo, so I was quite surprised, and I just needed a little bit more cash generation. So I'll go into the trades first, and then I'll get stuck into the actual side. And so you can see here, what I ended up doing was basically O'Driscoll for Bowie was the play. Stevens was a dead rookie, and I bought in Heaney and Sicily. And obviously I had a spare 75k, and I obviously got rid of Cripps because I just didn't believe it was going to be a 1 week hammy. I kind of win this trade because Heaney and Sicily went big this week. But if Cripps plays this week, I kind of don't win that trade because he is a top 10 midfielder for sure. So we'll get stuck into how the actual side went. Still surprised that my ranking went up with this sort of score, considering I did say on a lot of Facebook groups that people had gone 2-3. So get stuck into it from the back line there. Jack Crisp on the Friday night game or Thursday night game played really well in that midfield. It's probably the best game I've seen him play personally. And yeah, just racked it up, did a few silly things, but still managed to be everywhere pretty much, and that's a really handy score. Sort of glad I didn't trade him out. He was one of the guys that I was going to cut early, but I needed to get rid of Whitfield because he was showing worse signs than what Crisp was. Jaden Short, only the 56, but I think the majority of coaches actually do have him, so it's not one you should probably cut. I don't really have an excuse for Jaden Short, albeit that Adelaide kicked fairly straight, and to be honest, the game was all Adelaide's. Like we had some momentum here and there, but Adelaide just outplayed us and outplayed most of our players. So hats off to them winning that. He is in 35% of the team, so it probably didn't hurt you on the flip side of that anyway. I wouldn't go trading him out after one bad game. George Stewart there, 111, stood up there without Paddy Cripps in the midfield, and he's just going to be. You're probably not even talking about D6. He probably ends up D1 by the end of the season. And Sicily on debut here, I only had something like 474k. I only just was able to afford him at the time. I was looking at just going 2 up and 1 down, and O'Driscoll was the only reason I could afford Sicily and not have to trade Ryan out of my side. Ryan's still one I really do want to get rid of because 90 average isn't great, but just I have to look through the week if it's actually worth it now. I've held on at the wrong time because he has dropped a lot of money, so it's a little bit of a tough one. And Sicily actually gets his highest score of the week against Geelong, and he was fantastic. Like he was a quarter timer, he was on about 68 points. I thought, oh, please get to 150. But yeah, his lowest score for the year is 84. I still think if you've got Aaron Hall or someone like that who's done his hammy, he's a great sideways trade to him. I just think he'll be top 6 defender, and that's why I brought him in for that price. Wick Ryan, probably not one I really want to get into. He's the kind of player, if you've watched him the last few weeks and you are the 8% that do have him, he has one good quarter and then he just goes missing for most of the game. Chapman and Young just intercept and do their own thing out there. So it's just one of those guys that I'm just going to have to hold, sort of like everyone's holding Whitfield. So could have been worse. 91, you're not complaining, but it's a guy you can definitely sideways for sure. Same with Ridley, I guess. Hinge was my loophole. I had no idea that O'Driscoll would go 103. I play the safe bet in rookies. I don't know how the rest of you play, but if a rookie scores over 60, I'm normally banking that, because the worst thing you can have is a rookie get 30 or 40 points, and it's just not worth it. So I didn't think O'Driscoll would go over 68, and his game was actually fantastic. Like he was everywhere. He's not going to get dropped in the next 2 weeks. I think he's bought himself some time there. And McCartan, the guy I actually had for the emergency of Hinge, he plays really well, but he's sort of a one-quarter specialist too. So a little bit disappointing. He break even is 29, so I'm going to hold all these rookies pretty much until they don't make their break even, is how I'm going. And that's like with O'Driscoll, he's gone up significant amounts. I probably would jump on him this week if I didn't have him. But I just feel like any rookie you pay over 250 for is a little bit steep. I know he's got 2 tons in his system now, but it is a little bit annoying in the bank if you've missed out on this guy. But if you don't got any problems to fix up, I can see why you'd do it. Also, if you haven't noticed in your team, you actually have DPP now, so you can, for example, switch Nick Dacos, to your defence, shore up your defence, and you've pretty much got a primo defence, albeit these aren't really guys at primo, but it's a pretty solid one. Don't have to worry about fielding McCartan or Hinge in future, which is really handy there. And Dacos, yeah, he did what he does. I don't have too much expectation from a first-year player. It's just good that he's actually scoring better than a Horn Francis and almost probably better than Maddie Rowe. I haven't really seen the comparison, but he's just such a solid pick at this point. And yeah, really like this guy in the back line, and that's why I needed to finish off my defence, because that's where I was leaking the most points. McRae, captain, was probably one of the best captains to pick this week. He went off. I've been clicking on the players, and for some reason, the internet's not actually loading into their scores, so do forgive me for that one. But yeah, he scored really well, played really well against North Melbourne. I think most people went VC Neil into McRae. And yeah, McRae always gets the chocolates, so there's no issue there. Just that one bag of score for the year, which was a 92, which isn't even that bad, to be honest. But Lachie Neale was an interesting one. He had a really hot start to the Magpies. He turned up like early in the third, I'm pretty certain, and then just did nothing much for the rest of the game, which is really annoying. But it's just Lachie Neale things. He got tagged by Pennebury, which is quite annoying that he did. But I don't think it affected him. It's just the ball almost went past and they didn't use him as much as they would. So that sort of is what it is. Took Miller, scored 107, and that was a really solid game from him as well. Played really well. Just not the premium I thought he would be. Probably one you can buy. $5.93 is probably the cheapest he'll get. And yeah, look, I started with him, so I'm not going to trade him out, and I just think he'll be in the top 8 midfielders anyway. And Keaney bounced back too, so that's handy. He scored 96. He's averaging 97, so he's almost averaging what he scored. So that's really good to look at there. And if you don't own him, not sure what you're doing, but that's fine. Maddie Rowe is probably on the chopping block for me this week. I'll have a look at his break-even because my internet won't actually click into the page still. But his break-even is 103, so I don't mind if you want to trade him. He plays Brisbane this week. He's sort of hasn't really been a failed pick because of his early scores of the big 157 and a 103 or whatever it was there. But he's one you can definitely move on if you need to bring in Braden Bruce by DPP or something like that. Jared Berry, 76. Pretty stoked with this pick. Like, he's made a bit of coin now. Only paid 260 something for him, 268 I think, and he's almost gone up 100k, and he's scoring all right. He's averaging just under 80 there, so solid pick. Horn Francis is one I'm not really sure if I want to hold on to. They play the Cats this weekend. He finds all the pill, but sometimes he'll just turn it over or just do stupid things and tackle too high. But he's one that most of the competition have, so it's not one you really have to get rid of. Same with Rowe. Like, if they're highly owned, it doesn't really matter too much. It's more if it's a pod rookie, then they're scoring bad, then you've sort of got to move them on. Already spoken about O'Driscoll. Bench doesn't really need too much talking about. Rochelle probably was not going to field, and I'm glad I didn't against Richmond. However, I did think he'd kick 3 or 4 maybe. I just didn't think he'd get enough of it to be relevant this weekend. And Ward and McDonald, I don't know how I feel about them. I watched the game today, and I'm not sure if it was. I'm pretty sure it was Ward. Just it looked like he was one step behind the play all the time. So I don't really know how he even got 65. And same McDonald got all those cheap stats late in the fourth quarter or early in the fourth quarter as well. So their break evens now 26 and 31. So you can probably hold for another week, but I wouldn't be against it if you were trading one of these guys out to bring in Braden Preuss if he's named, because Braden Preuss is going to make about 75k this week. English 138, he's a fantastic pick. I'm glad I started him over Gawn, but I wish I started Gawn over Grundy. Grundy, not worth trading out either. Just looks disinterested. I feel like once a player has had the contract year, they just never score quite as well as what they did when they're actually playing for a contract. So that's one thing to know. And, you know, he said, having the best preseason, and now he's not in the hubs, but he just looks useless, to be honest, sometimes. I think it's just when their team is not playing for finals, I feel like that's where he's not interested anymore. So I'm not sure if that's correlation to his scoring output, that he just knows he's going to be a bottom 6 team or thereabouts, that he just doesn't care. But there's no hunger there. I wouldn't be against going Grundy down to a rookie to bank some cash. But I feel like he'll probably bounce back against Essendon this weekend, because Essendon lost Andrew Phillips, so he'll be just up against Draper, and she'll probably kill Draper, really. And Hayes 105. You can't win them all. The rookie roulette. I mean, I won them all in the forward line, which is fine. But I didn't really think Hayes would do that well against Wits. But I think it was more around the ground stuff that he did. So I played more of what I thought was a smart move, because he was averaging good without Ryder in the team, but I actually thought Wits would dominate him, because there's about 15 centimetres difference between them. So I didn't expect that score from him. I was going by logic, and it still didn't make sense. So he's a good one to hold on to. I wouldn't be getting rid of him anytime soon. His break even's now 22, so yeah, he's going to make it to 350k, not a problem. Dunkley 100, yeah, fantastic from him. Got a lot of junk ball. Still averaging 109 for the season, and looks like he'll be top 3 forward for sure this year. And the man on debut, Isaac Keaney, if he's not one of the most exciting players, apart from Petrarca, I don't know who is. Like, he doesn't need a lot of the ball. They keep calling him a Dustin Martin role, but he's better overhead. He's better at taking marks, and he's probably a little bit more dynamic in the sense of, he can actually play midfield, get to the forward line, kick goals overhead, snap. He's going to be the next big thing if he can put injury aside and actually play as well as he does. Obviously, Dusty's got accolades and 3-time Norm Smith and all the rest of it. But he if they're playing finals, he's going to be up there, because he's an absolute X factor. He does it all. So yeah, he's a fantastic player, and I look forward to watching the rest of his career. Butters 130. You sort of saw this one coming with Wines out of that midfield. Boak's going to slow down. He always has a hot start to the season, so they're going to have to chuck guys that got a little bit of pace in there and not so one-dimensional, because a lot of their midfield is not exciting. But yeah, Butters was everywhere. He was trying to provide him run and carry. Does put himself in a lot of dangerous positions, so you're always holding your breath when he goes up for a mark, and even when he tackles, you're just thinking, please don't pop your shoulders out or anything. But yeah, 130 will take that, and I think he continues to be sort of that top 3 forward as well. So I really like this combination of the 3, and the only reason I bought Heaney in for Cripps was Heaney's the only guy that's really burning me. Not having a guy that's averaging 122 and in 40% of teams, and don't have him. I just couldn't not get him, and that's why I did that 3-way move to get rid of Stevens, Bowie, and Cripps to bring in Heaney, Sicily, and Driscoll. And surprisingly, like, it was actually really well done. Obviously, I didn't feel it O'Driscoll, but I will future rounds for sure. The way he played on that wing was fantastic. Enough about him. I think I was just too excited about that bloke, to be fair. Will Brody, just doing Will Brody things. I actually think he's a season keeper more than Cornelio, even though they're averaging 2 points difference. Yeah, he's great. Even with Fife coming back, I think he's sold his job security for the rest of the year. He does hold on to the ball a little bit too long sometimes, but his decision making is actually pretty good. So I really rate this pick. At 405k, you've really missed the boat now if you haven't already got him. And Terry was great against English. Won a lot of hitouts. Probably can clunk a few marks would be nice, but it's 103 in a thumping. You'll take that every day of the week. And he was an obvious field for mine. I know a lot of people actually did bench him because the week before he scored a 46, but people don't check time on ground, so they think, oh, that player had a stinker, and not realise that they've been off for a certain reasons. So sometimes it's not a matter of them scoring bad because they weren't on the ground and it was going past them. It was just because they weren't on the ground for medical reasons. So just keep an eye on that with your rookies. Even the player notes, if you do got SuperCoach Plus on the Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll actually say how they went for the rounds. And Nick Martin's a fantastic pick too. I started this bloke, luckily, over Baldwin, and he's a very patchy player. If you watch Essendon games, he'll be stuck on the bench for like 7 or 8 minutes, but then he'll come on, have a few possessions, and score 15 points within a matter of a minute. So, classy player. I think he's kicked 7 or 8 goals now in the first couple of rounds, and just, yeah, he looks really, really good. I think Essendon have got a gem there. And for the bench, yeah, it is what it is. I'm glad I didn't field any of those options. Obviously, I don't know what I'm going to do this week with my team. I'll obviously do a video Friday, so if my trades, are made, they will be set. But the problem with the Thursday games is it does stuff up your trade plans, and that's why I didn't bring out a Thursday video, because I had no idea what my plans would be until the Friday teams were finalised. I was pretty confident that O'Driscoll wouldn't get named, and then it threw a spanner in the works. So it's really hard doing these videos when you got a Thursday game. So do apologise to that one person that followed me on that move of Ryan to Doherty, but I think long-term Doherty's going to outscore Ryan, not a problem, and probably be the top scorer for the year, Doc. So, yeah, I'm not sure what to do with the side. Obviously, a lot of players got DPP this week. I've got a lot of flexibility in this side. You notice here with those changes I did do, I can actually now swing DeConnie and McCartan forward. McDonald got mid-eligible, so that's handy as well. I don't even know how to field my team anymore because there's so many different avenues. Like, it just makes it a little bit too complicated in some sense, because I obviously want to field O'Driscoll, but I want to get Hayes on the side too, so it makes it really tricky. I don't think I can actually have them physically all in there, which makes it, yeah, I can't. So you guys probably got the same problem. You're going to have one guy that you want to field that you can't, but that's fine. That probably is an advocate to actually trading out someone like Grundy, because I could actually potentially put Terry in the ruck line and then bring in a Primo, or even just trade Grundy down to Bruce and have that flexibility there. I don't know. There's too many thoughts to actually go with this DPP stuff now, but there's a couple of players I am eyeing off. I think Rosa from Gold Coast would be a good rookie this week. Ben Hobbs is one to keep an eye on, scored 65. Sam Hayes there, 75. Tom Green. This is like 2 or 3 years ago when Rowan Marshall came on the block. I sort of didn't believe the hype, and then he ended up being a really great pick. And I feel like this might be the Tom Green sense, where I don't believe, and then he ends up just being a top 10 mid, which would really be strange, because I wouldn't be expecting it, because he was never really best 22 half the games last year and the year before. But he is only young, and he's just proven otherwise. He's averaging 124 for the season. So Aaron Hall can get off my list too. He did a hammy. I'd advocate any player that's done a hammy that you trade out, in my opinion. There's no such thing as a 1 week hammy. And if Cripps does play, I will stand corrected. But Jake Lloyd's at a good price now too, if you need to bring in someone for Aaron Hall. I could probably get rid of Dangerfield off my list. He's not looking very good at either. Duncan maybe later down the track, but he hasn't really turned up, so I think he can go. But Petrarca's the other one. Like, Tom Green's a great pick, and I think Petrarca's fixture opens up. He's got Richmond next week, and then he's got like Hawthorn and a few other teams. So there's some guys I could look at. Whether I move on Maddie Rowe this week, I don't really have enough cash. But I definitely will be even looking at Wiki Parker as well now that he's got forward mid status at 483k. You'd think he's going to finish top 6 forward for the year. I think at the moment he's about 24th ranked because he had a few stinkers, but that's a bargain pick I'm looking at, and same with Tom Mitchell. So if you guys want any trade advice or any questions, just leave them in the comments below. Did ramble on in a little bit at the end there, but I just wanted to get this video out quick. And yeah, hopefully you guys had a really good Easter. Let me know what you scored in the comments below, and I'll catch you on the round 6 preview on Friday at some point. So, peace out.